Hi everyone. The resources that I'm going to be evaluating today is a plant notebook and also a worksheet that we created for math. So I'm going to start out with the plant notebook. So according to the Online Accessibility Handbook, in order for students to be able to use text-to-speech features, if you click on a slide and click tab, everything should go in the correct order that you would want it to read to students. So everything is in the order that I would want it read to them. So that part would be accessible to students who need to use that feature. Another thing they talked about was having, if items are in a list, that they should be bulleted or numbered, which this is the only list I have, and they are bulleted, so that would be accessible for students. Another area they talked about was having contrasting colors on slides, and I do believe that the white and black is a good contrast for students. Also, the green boxes are kind of to indicate that that's where students should either post a picture or type. So the green boxes indicate where students need to show their work. So I think that would be accessible to students as well visually. The next one is checking accessibility of images and just having that alt text on images. I have never done this before on any of my slides, so I would have to go back to a lot of my notebooks and include that alt text on images because I don't have any images on these slides. It's just a background, but I would need to do that to a lot of my other slides that I have. The next one is having links. Links have meaningful descriptions, and down here I have a choice board. So this is an area where if they finish one of the slides that we're working on for the day, they can just go here to kind of explore. There's headings above to show kind of what the links will take them to, but each link is different and it's just an image. So I would have to add meaningful descriptions to each of those links to show where they are going to, because right now they are just linked to a picture. Also in the Online Accessibility Handbook, it talked about not saying click here, and I've done that a lot of different times in my slides that I make for students, so I would have to go back and change that as well. So from the Rice Chapter 8, it talked a lot about the UDL, and one part of the UDL was to provide multiple means of representation by presenting information and content in different ways. And on this specific lesson, I usually use these notebooks after I teach, so they would be getting the information from me, and then they're kind of showing what they learned on these slides. On these slides, though, there are only videos and there's no text or audio or anything like that. So I would want to go back in and add some sort of audio and more text if students can't learn visually. And now that I just saw this video, it also said not to embed videos, instead add a link to make it go elsewhere. So I would have to go back and change these embedded videos to links so they could go to another page. Going back to the Rice Chapter 8, it also talked about providing multiple means of expressing understanding, which I would also need to change for this particular notebook because there's only one way where students are showing what they know. For this one, they're drawing a picture of a plant and labeling the parts. Usually they would do this on a whiteboard. They could do this online, like an online whiteboard, and then they're just posting their picture here with all of the labeled parts. On another slide, they're just typing a definition and using it in a sentence. So there aren't multiple ways that they're showing their understanding, just one way. So I would have to add a little bit of student choice in having them choose what direction they would want to go in showing what they learned. And also in the chapter, it talked about providing multiple means of engagement by stimulating interest and motivation for learning. And again, I really only have these videos in here, so just adding more means of engagement. I do this a lot more in my lessons. This is just a way for students to practice again and write down what they've learned from the lesson, but I could add some more ways for engagement in these slides. I also could add assistive technology, text-to-speech. After going over Module 5, I learned a lot of different technology tools that I could use for text-to-speech, so I would definitely want to show students how to use that, not even for this notebook, but just throughout the entire school year. The next resource that I'm going to review is this math worksheet. So this math worksheet is on geometry, and I would use this after teaching parallel lines, congruent sides, and right angles. So I would teach the students what each of those things mean, and then I would have them work with a group of 3 to determine how many sets of parallel lines, congruent sides, and right angles these shapes have. I would give them a ruler to help them with congruent sides. I would give them an index card to help them determine the right angles, and they would also get the shapes as manipulative, so they could kind of draw on a piece of paper the sides to see if they were parallel. So they would be using manipulatives and different resources. This is done in person when they're completing this worksheet. But going into the online accessibility handbook, it did say to use headings on tables. I don't have any main titles or headings up here, so I could add that along with even directions. I usually just explain this to them in person, so having the directions there and even just a heading on what we're learning would be helpful to students. If this was given to students online, I would need to add alt text to images. So you would just go here and add alt text. As you can see, I don't have any alt text for these, so I could just go in and type in even what the image is to make it more accessible for students. And then I could also click on tab when I get to the top to make sure that everything is read to students in the correct order. So as you can see, it would go in the correct order that I would want them to look at the worksheet. So that would be accessible to them as well. And then the color contrast, I just use black and white and some gray at the top to show that kind of the directions and what questions they're answering. So I do believe that would be accessible as well. And I don't have any links or lists on this. From the Rice Chapter 8, there are multiple means of engagement. It also talked about having active participation and exploration. So students would be working in a group of 3 to explore these different shapes, and they would be participating in their group and filling out this worksheet as they're working. Also in Chapter 8, it talked about providing opportunities for collaboration, which this worksheet would definitely offer as well, because students are working together to kind of discuss the questions at the top of how many right angles, congruent sides, and sets of parallel lines each shape has. And then also in Chapter 8, it talked about representing and expressing understanding and giving them multiple opportunities to do so. And this worksheet only gives them one opportunity to do so because they are just filling out this worksheet. I could include different ways that they could show their understanding, like maybe they could record a video, or maybe they could put it on Google Slides, or I could offer different opportunities for them to express their understanding besides just this worksheet.